Post-secondary education can be a major turning point to facilitate different life trajectory with successful outcomes, as we will hear from young people today, kind of talk about that a little bit from their own personal experiences. And this is an ideal population of young people to focus on within universities. Universities should really focus on creating more resources for this population particularly. The next slide is called Needed Support. We do know that peer-to-peer mentoring to help support students achieve their academic and personal goals is valued. It's valued by the youth that have told us that across our projects, and it's shown within a lot of research as well. Another thing that's important is identifying campus champions across campus who have knowledge of available resources to help these students engage and feel more connected to their university community. Campus champions are staff, faculty, and administrators across the university, all different departments, and they are trained. So they're trained to understand the background of foster care and why this population is important. And they're trained to act as a resource for them, whether that be a point of reference, whether that be someone that can be maybe even a longer term ally, and join in on the fun. So when we have workshops and such, they, if they want to, can come participate. And we know what this does for young people often is takes down that barrier and keeps them from having that imposter syndrome of, I can't interact with these people with all these degrees because I don't belong here. So that in itself, along with near-peer mentoring and coaching, supports learning them how to ask for help and how to practice asking for help and be comfortable with it. So then we also try to build in opportunities for them to have experientials and practice with study skills and other basic know-how not well developed in foster care. And then we know foster youth are 3 times more likely to persist in college if they participate in campus support programs for foster youth. And with that, I would love to hand it off to the lovely Maddie Day.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So my name is Maddie Day. I am the Director of Outreach and Training for the Center for Fostering Success, and I'm going to speak about the Fostering Success Michigan statewide initiative. Next slide. So Fostering Success Michigan is what we could consider a backbone organization, and we are using a collective impact approach to increase access and success in post-secondary education and professional careers for students with experience in foster care in Michigan. I'm going to speak about some of our efforts on a larger statewide approach, and then my colleague Peter Thompson is going to speak about one of the specific programs also under the Center for Fostering Success here at Western that is serving students directly through a campus-based support programming. So Fostering Success Michigan is a statewide partner with our large collective impact effort around college access. We're seeking to increase post-secondary credential attainment to 60% by the year 2020. So we do this in partnership with many, many other initiatives across the state, and we are really focused on taking the foster care slice of that pie. Fostering Success Michigan is a network of experts. We bring in people from a just diverse, very diverse arena. We primarily focus on students, professionals, and supportive adults. And these folks represent all sorts of divisions and organizations such as the courts and the Department of Education, our child welfare agencies, of course, our higher education institutions, community organizations, and so on. So we really are quite a diverse network of folks, and Fostering Success Michigan as an initiative is really working to support those folks. Next slide. So we do this by really aiming our projects and our activities at capacity development. So as a backbone organization, we are seeking to increase capacity in 3 ways. So resourcing, which is building our knowledge capacity, supporting, which is building our skill capacity, and networking, which is building our social capacity. So some examples of our resourcing activities would include our fosteringsuccessmichigan.com website. We encourage everyone to go there, we have a wide variety of resources, including those that we have created on our own. So we have a series of guides, we have webinars and podcast series that you can find on our website. And then we also identify other resources and sort of expert websites and what we call network partners, both in Michigan and across the country. So while there's definitely a Michigan focus to the website, there's lots of resources that would be useful to anyone across the country really seeking to have more information about supporting students with experience in foster care in the education to career pipeline. An example of our supporting activities are really around our two action networks, and those are our Higher Education Consortium, which is focused on bringing together all of our campus-based support programs. We currently have 16 programs representing 17 post-secondary institutions in Michigan and providing technical assistance and professional development for that group. And we also have a Policy Action Network. This group represents folks from the Department of Education, Department of Health and Human Services, some folks in government affairs, and community organizations who are working together to promote the policy agenda that we know is needed to sustain this work. Lastly, we have our community engagement activities, which are our networking activities. And these activities we do in a variety of ways. We've hosted statewide summits in the past. We also do regional activities. We call them community collaboratives, focused on bringing together different participants in the network in a regional area and providing opportunities for conversation, shared learning. You can see some of the panel discussions that we have on our website and also on our Facebook page. Next slide. So Fostering Success Michigan, like the other programs of the Center for Fostering Success, utilizes a 7 life domains framework. And this comes from the Casey It's My Life research. And we have adapted it so that the 7 life domains all surround the domain of education. And really what we believe is that by focusing our alignment of these domains around education, we are helping students create responses and identify resources that will holistically support them to be successful. And we are organizing both the resources and the resource partners that are part of doing this work to really respond to the real-time needs of students. And so we do look for resources and resource partners in each of these domains, and is really our goal to ensure that students have a connection and access to resources in each of these domains. And that's really how we are looking at the measurement of success. Next slide. So just a couple outcomes that I want to highlight here. One of the things that you'll see is that we have 59% of all Michigan post-secondary institutions with at least one identified professional on their campus to support students with experience in foster care. This is really tremendous growth that we have seen when we started the Fostering Success Michigan statewide initiative in 2012. We only had five institutions, I should say. So we've grown exponentially, and this growth is really it's really because of collaborations and partnerships. And I would absolutely want to call out our Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, who has provided grants to support 10 of our institutions, who allows for staff to be a part of campus support programming from the local offices. We also have a really great collaboration with the Michigan Department of Treasury, who reaches out and identifies financial aid champions for students with experience in foster care. And the collaboration with them has really been to provide some specific technical assistance for those students. And then, of course, our higher education institutions who have gotten on board and recognized the importance of this work. Next slide. So these are always the fun, happy numbers that we like to report. So we have seen an increase in the number of students graduating, the number of students being supported through our programs. Absolutely want to call out and just recognize that the CETA Scholars Program in 2017 celebrated their 100th CETA Scholar graduate through their program. And while we are very excited about these pieces of data and the outcomes that we're seeing with our programs, it would be remiss if we also didn't say that success comes in many forms and fashions, and we also want to celebrate the successes of students who have participated in a variety of advocacy activities, participated in the Congressional Coalition for Adoption Institute internships, our foster club participants, and students who have had, local wins, having their first, checking account open, their stable housing, buying their first car. So we really look at success all across the spectrum, and really believe that that is how we get to a successful student and a successful graduate. Next slide. So for more information, of course, you can visit our fosteringsuccessmichigan.com website, and I encourage you to check out our national map where you can learn more about programs like Fostering Success Michigan, those of us who are doing the statewide foster care and higher education collaborative work. You can also find our 4-year campus-based support programs on the map, as well as information about tuition waivers. Thank you all so much.
And Peter?
Yep. Thank you all for having me here. It's a pleasure to be able to be here representing the CETA Scholars Program. My background, I'm a campus coach with the CETA Scholars Program since 2014. I also work with our community engagement outreach areas and with our mentoring program. A lot of people, I want to say this up front, a lot of people will look at the CETA Scholars Program, and because of our visibility and our size, they'll think, well, they got it all figured out. Well, we're all on the same path. We're all trying to learn how to figure this out as we go. So I want to tell you a little bit about us, and then hopefully I'll share some things, and many of you, it will validate what you do and what you know and all those kind of things, and maybe there'll be some new information in there that you can use as resources. So first of all, we started out in 2008. It was the result of a collaboration between the Director of Admissions, the Director of Financial Aid, and a faculty member in school social work. She became the first program director. It's also important to note that we enjoyed the full support of the president of the university, who tells the story of going to the board of trustees and saying, I don't care how much it costs, but we're going to do it. And they agreed to do that. So there's a lot of support. The president actually, we've got a new president, and the students actually see him throughout the year. We're deeply embedded in campus and community, support of academic departments, civic organizations, churches, individuals across the Kalamazoo community. We're funded through a variety of sources. The university obviously gives a scholarship for our students that amounts to about 40% of their cost of attendance. To do this, one of the ways they've offset that is to be creative, and all of our students are required to live on campus, which works for us as a program too, but also works to get a revenue stream there. Also, additional funding comes from Department of Health and Human Services. They employ one of our campus coaches and a liaison. We get support from our donors, direct, and then part of the university fundraising initiatives, including United Way, and an endowment set up by President John Dunn. So next slide. Oh, here we are. Okay, so, oh, I'm sorry, back to the previous slide, my apologies. So what are we doing here? What are our goals? So the first one is to create transitions, and that means really providing stability that enables growth and skills development that Maddie was talking about. So the community of scholars is really a safe place, and we actually have a physical space, which is very important, but it's also a supportive social context with both peers and trained coaches. When we talk about our role of educating, obviously it's using the domains model that Maddie reviewed. It is a holistic support, but it's an active tool that we use daily. So we focus on personalized skill-based asset development, and we often tell the students it's like building a resume. Excuse me. In the education role, we also have a responsibility to educate the university about the needs of students who experience foster care and develop allies and the campus champions, and also to hold the institution accountable to its commitment to being an inclusive campus. So transformation, what does that mean? It's a lot of times it's helping students move from a survival mode to the capacity to envision and plan for the long term, helping them address their trauma by developing coping strategies that allows them to integrate their past experiences without being defined by them. We talk about moving towards interdependence as a fundamental goal. It's not dependence, which includes a lack of agency and control, not the rugged individualism of independence, which can be reflected in a set of survival skills. that may not include students using the resources. And we call that pseudo-independence a lot. We use that phrase a lot. But interdependence is what we're going for, which means an engaged participant in one's life, building a network of support, accepting responsibility for self and responsibility to others. Next slide. So what does that mean? What's the structure of our program? What's the human environment? So it starts off with coaches and the coaching relationship. The coach is not a counselor, not a social worker, but to put it in general terms, is an educator. We try to maintain a 25-to-1 ratio so that all the students have regular access to a coach. And although students are assigned to a particular coach, they have access to the whole coaching staff and interactions with the whole coaching staff so that they're there for them when they need them, including 24-hour on-call support as necessary. There's expectations that we have regular contact with the students. That means in person, texting, email, and phone. Although the last two might not be that accessible to students nowadays, we use whatever we can to reach students. Our staff are all master's level professionals with backgrounds in counseling, higher education, teaching, social work, and have dealt with youth and foster care in a variety of capacities. A key thing about all of our coaches is that we're all trained in our fostering success coaching model, which is very helpful because it provides a structure for us to guide our interactions with others, with our students. I think one of our key roles, and this was mentioned earlier, is helping students to navigate the university and the whole educational process in general, utilizing resources effectively, and being the primary point of contact. One of our recent graduates said to her coach when she left, she said, "You're my person." And that really meant it wasn't about an unhealthy relationship, but you're my person, you're my go-to on campus when something needs to get done. So staff also builds relationships and advocates throughout the university, kind of role modeling that engagement and self-advocacy for our students. So next slide, please. So how do we measure success? Well, Maddie gave us a nice shout out there and said we were over 100. We're actually at 125 as of our most recent graduation. Historically and projecting forward, we graduate about 20 to 25 over an academic year, and it looks like we actually might be close to 30 this year. Consistently, about 20% of our students are on the dean's list. So the last 2 semesters, that means we've had 26 and 25 students on the dean's list. We are working more with a partnership with our honors college. Students frequently haven't even considered the possibility of being engaged with an honors college coming from where they are and their expectations about college. Similarly, study abroad, we're really ramping up our participation. Probably right now 10 to 15% of our students participate, and that's going up rapidly. It requires a complex skill set in planning ahead. And many students, even their applications for study abroad, say, I never would have considered it's an option, especially because of finances. But we're able to support students through that process. So note up there, our presidential scholars. Our presidential scholars at Western are students identified as the most outstanding student in each academic department and major. And we've had 2 of those over the last 2 years. So that's something that we're very proud of. Additional thing that we provide is the coach training through our coaches. We try to pass on what we have experienced to other institutions, other individuals. It serves as a feedback loop for us too about us learning from other institutions, and we get better at training the more we do it. Student engagement is really, really important to our program. We believe in leadership development. We have peer mentors. We have a lot of interest in those positions. We have a parents group, a men's group, a women's group. So all those things are crucial to us doing the leadership development students need. Students represent the program and outreach to prospective donors, interactions with campus community organizations and donors. We try to never do a presentation without students involved. So what have we learned through this program through the last 10 years? One of the things that I think that we talk about is that a leap of faith is sometimes required to be successful, and you have to use creativity, flexibility, imagination, and you have to have a vision or a dream. The effort that we put into it is about learning lessons, creating feedback loops with our students, keeping the students centered as the experts of their own experience, and then doing research into the most impactful aspects of the program. And right now we've discovered that's the coaching relationship, more so even than financial scholarships. We continue to develop more effective tools and apply those and share those with our community. A couple other things we've learned is that engagement is crucial. Regular contact. The #1 predictor of students stopping out is disengagement from program staff and activities. We notice very early on if students aren't engaged, if students who get a C or worse in our first year experience class that we have for our students, only 1 student over the last 3 years has made it to their second year if they get a C or worse. So we're working on ways to do early intervention and improve our capacity to deal with that. We talk about relationships a lot. One of the things about our roles here is to provide stability and consistency through change. So the students can have a place where they can continue to come. Even if the staff changes, there's consistency of because of how we're trained, how we respond to them and how we support them through their educational process. I want to briefly draw attention to why students don't make it in our observation. And #1 being unaddressed mental health issues, not mental health issues in and of themselves, but not addressing them. The second being finances, often related to family commitments. And the third being academic skills, academic preparation. And we're still learning. It's important that we continue to focus on research and evaluation of our outcomes. We have a lot to learn. We approach this with modesty, even though, like I said, we are one of the biggest programs, one of the most highly visible. We are learning all the time, most recently about integrating trauma-informed practice into what we do. So thanks for the opportunity to share.
Thank you so much, Peter. Rebecca from Avenues to College.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Griffin, and I work with the Avenues to College program as the College Pathways Coordinator. Avenues to College is a new program, and so we just wanted to share a little bit about our program model and what we've learned so far. New Avenues for Youth has historically worked with youth experiencing homelessness, and in studying the characteristics of these young people, we found that around 40% of homeless youth have experience in the foster care system. Our goal in creating the PDX Connect programming was to address the needs of youth transitioning out of foster care, and Avenues to College was created to specifically address the needs of youth who want to be successful in post-secondary. We chose to focus our program on 3 areas: leadership development training and academic prep, supported housing options and wraparound case management, and academic, financial, and leadership coaching. Students progress through 4 phases of our program. In each phase, they receive more opportunity for engagement with students and staff. Our eligibility for our program includes specific geographic location in the city of Portland, age range, and DHS involvement. We set out to capture young people as they graduated high school and transitioned to college, but we have broadened our outreach to include current college students as well. We found many were in need of continued support, and they provided a level of experienced peer support that we were lacking. In phase 1 of our program, it is critical for us to maintain positive working relationships with local DHS branches and ILP providers so we can recruit students. We work one-on-one with students to provide college access support and recruit for our leadership development cohort. In phase 2, we hold our weekly leadership development training at Portland Community College. Being at PCC maximizes exposure and develops a sense of belonging on campus for our students. One of the highlights of phase 2 is our wilderness retreat. We take the students on an overnight camping trip, including whitewater rafting and hiking, getting away from everyday stressors and bonding through the thrill of excitement. And ultimately, the challenges of outdoor activities is a critical part of the cohort bonding process in our program. Phase 3 is coaching. We guide students through financial aid, registration, book buying, and academic progress. But one of the most impactful parts of our coaching is financial. We help students budget their financial aid, any DHS subsidy funds they receive, wages if they are working, and our monthly stipend, which is up to $300 a month. Our stipend helps students pay their rent, phone bills, and other living expenses. We find that a lot of what youth in foster care need is covered by financial aid, but there's no net to catch them when unexpected expenses arise. And so our program takes care of these bumps in the road and allows our students to just focus on school success. After their first year of coaching, students who remain in school and wish to get continued support enter our phase 4, where they have access to staff support and financial supports when available. One of the main lessons we've learned in developing this program is how we need to be strategic in our outreach to youth in care. We found that one-on-one meetings provided opportunity for individualized college planning, and it was easier to develop a lasting rapport with students, which has come in handy particularly with younger students who we may meet a few years in a row before they are ready to attend college. And then after finding little success with high schools being able to identify youth in care, we've focused our efforts on building and maintaining relationships with DHS caseworkers and ILP providers who follow a youth no matter where their placement is or what high school they're attending. Another lesson we've learned is that our initial marketing strategy for our program led to us enrolling some students who were ultimately a poor fit for our program. We marketed the supported college housing associated with our program, and many of the youth who applied initially were looking for affordable housing, and attending school was just a way to get housing. When we changed our marketing strategy to highlight the college success component, we were getting motivated students who looked at the flexible housing options and funding as a bonus that would help them reach their academic goals. As we have become a more established program, we've learned to aim higher than our required number served, and this has allowed us to impact more students and then account for any attrition, which, as you can see, even 2 youth not starting college on time can really affect whether or not we're meeting our service goals for our program. And again, you can see our improved marketing strategy about what our program offers has led to a better fit of student, which has led to improved outcomes. Again, you can see these are our program outcomes, and they've improved as we've honed our ability to provide individualized college coaching, regular cohort activities, and flexible funding. We learned fairly quickly that there's no one-size-fits-all for youth in care. Avenues to College is lucky to partner with College Housing Northwest in the midst of a housing crisis and DHS placement shortage in Portland. Our students are in a unique position with access to affordable apartments, but we also have come to recognize that not disrupting a good placement is just as important as offering a brick-and-mortar housing option. Our funding from the Portland Children's Levy paired with private funds allow us to provide a lot of financial support and individualized services to students. For example, one student may not need as much of their stipend, while another might be living independently and in real need of financial support. And one student may register and buy books on their own before we even text them to ask if they need help, while another student may need us to meet them in person and support them through this process. Our flexible funding allows us to meet the needs of all of our students. We regularly leverage our partnerships in order to help our students be successful and are always building on these relationships to maximize impact. We have 2 program staff that work in tandem to meet the needs of our students and act as backup to one another, which means that students have support even if one staff is unavailable. And we are also able to work remotely and meet students on campus, at their job, at their home, or anywhere else in the community that works for them. So we have invited 2 of our students to come and share a bit about their experience in Avenues to College. We're asking them to just introduce themselves, share their academic focus, and how Avenues to College has helped them reach their goals so far.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zara. I am currently a student at PCC. I'm studying social work, and hopefully I will be able to transfer to PSU to get my master's degree. ATC has supported my education greatly. As a person who never thought I would go to college, ATC has made that possible by helping me navigate and accessing my resources and putting their focus solely on my education. Having this support system and creating great relationships with my ATC coaches definitely makes a difference on my education and myself as a person.
I'm Santiana. I currently go to Merrillhurst. I entered the program a month before turning 21, which is the aging out age. And so I've been connected for the last 3 years, and I feel that this program has been really helpful. Just being a young adult and knowing that there's a lot of financial barriers usually. Having a program that really does take care of finances is really helpful, so that way it reduces any stress or anxiety regarding finances at all, just so that I can strictly focus on school. I feel that the staff really helps keep me on track when it comes to certain deadlines, such as applying for certain scholarships or making sure that I'm taking care of certain things like doing my taxes. And then any knowledge that I learn from this program, I usually share it and pass it on with other youth to make sure that they're staying on track and applying for certain scholarships as well. And I feel that this program has really helped me and is different than other programs. As said earlier, I feel like I have my go-to person who really kind of personalized my experience in college. I feel like at most community colleges, they see dozens of students, so they don't really get to meet with their students one-on-one or get to know their experience. So having someone that really helps me and knows my goals helps me to achieve my goals and be successful.
Thank you. In the future, Avenues to College hopes to expand our funding so that we can serve students who live outside of our city limits and who want to attend a different college than the one we currently exclusively partner with. We also want to continue to work with our local partners, including our local Fostering Success program, to make sure there is a spectrum of supports for all of the youth in care who want to access higher education in Portland. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. That was lovely. Thank you. And now we're going to go to Greg, who's going to switch it up a little bit and kind of give us some recommendations from his perspective as someone who has a great interest in policy and policy within academics and such.
Thank you so much. So first of all, thank you to everyone who presented and being part of a national conversation regarding foster care and what we can do to boost overall education attainment among students who come from this background. Professionally, I'm interested in this topic a lot because I think what is good for foster care students is good for our country. The policies that we make that are dedicated towards improving college access and attainment for lowest achieving students, particularly the students that come from, have lots of placements in high school and middle school, bouncing around a lot in our educational system, the better we can support those students and the better policies we have aimed at those students, the stronger supports will be for every other student that is impacted by changing environments. So this is a really important topic, and we have established a need for it. Just in this conversation, we've talked about the low graduation rates, we've talked about the even low access rates, those students that are attending college, initial placement rates in college. And we've seen some improvements, and we've talked about this a little bit today, is that enrollment has been increasing. Especially for our lowest income students, we've seen a good jump in enrollment in students attending college. What we have not seen is a growth in those who attain a college degree. And who are successful in college. And it's important to define what success means too. Really quickly, I want to say that success doesn't necessarily mean getting a 4-year degree. It could be getting a certificate, it could be getting a 2-year degree, it could be getting any sort of post-secondary education that leads to some sort of employment outcome. So when I talk, I'll make some inferences to just baccalaureate degree attainment because sometimes that's what we measure, and it's an easy metric, but that doesn't mean success. Success can have a variety of things. So it's clear that we need to improve this success because one of the big things beyond monetary is we see students that graduate from college have a greater share of voter participation. They tend to be engaged in their communities. They tend to vote more often. They have a higher health benefit, so we know that they go to the doctor more. We know that they actually deal with mental health and actually go to counselors, and there's not the stigma around that. They are able to be more economically stable. They understand how to help with some of their financial and budget systems, which means they're not likely to default on loans. They're not likely to job hop where they're not gaining some economic momentum in their own lives. we know that going to college and having some sort of degree increases social mobility 5 times more than those who don't go to college. So there's a significant ability that education really does help students move forward. We also know that just on average, the New York Times actually had an opinion article citing some research. It wasn't really opinion, it was just highlighting a person's research that showed the average salary wage for students who have bachelor's degrees is nearly $10 more than those who only have some college. So this idea that we need to see students complete is really salient. And so I really am happy to be talking about programs and being a part of this where we're actually talking about how to help students complete college. And there's some different ways that we can do that. So we've hit on a few different things. We've hit on state policies, we've hit on campus policies, and we've hit on college success policies, or items that help individual college success, I should say. State policies, I'm going to start with really high level, and then we'll get further into more granular individual level policies. So state adoption, state policy adoption, the slide 29, I think it was, had some problems with partnering with K-12 institutions and some data for things like that. And we're actually seeing states really start addressing this by going through K-16 models, where they're looking at creating college programs that move students from all the way from kindergarten all the way through college attainment, and looking at, you have Tennessee Promise, you have Oregon Promise, you have Excelsior in New York, where we're looking at how students can access low-cost community college programs or 4-year programs, and as long as they maintain some eligibility, they're able to continue those college classes at a low cost. So we're seeing the K-16 approach kind of start taking hold. Something to think about as we get in on the table of those K-16 approaches is to encourage broader mentorship, encourage broader data sharing agreements where we can look at how students are moving through this pipeline, and we can put in place natural mentors that can help students adjust. So advocating for college counselors, we see that there's some great research out there by Ashley Clayton out of LSU that talks about some of the impact of having college counselors in low-income high schools and how that helps students go to college. So, and then once you're in college, having programs that can help students, support students through college. And that leads to great campus policies, right? Helping students, once they're in college, get through the kind of the rigors of what it takes to become a degree completer and achieve their goals. So obviously there's institutional support that we've talked about. We've talked about monetary capacity partnerships with outside orgs, and talked about having support of the president, talked about having support of donors and endowments. These are really important things, and I think having messaging around how these programs help the university. We care, a lot of universities, they care about their students completing, and that's a genuine care. It's not just numbers, not just rankings. People want to see students complete from their university, and the more that we can make our message known that this has an impact, and the more that we can transfer it not just to foster youth, but to a variety of people, a variety of low-income youth that maybe don't come from foster care, but on the edges, has caseworkers, has social workers that were still in their homes. We're going to counseling. We're doing some things that we forget, that sometimes get lost in the cracks because we focus on one population, and showing that when we help students and create structures in place that have campus partnerships, they expand out, and we see that students can be successful from all backgrounds as we create those partnerships. So telling our story, telling it prudently, telling it to people that we know will listen, and telling it in ways they will hear are vital to making this take hold at each individual campus. Then there's the other policy piece. Monetary support is great, but if our students don't have housing, they can't be successful. So we need to really start focusing on also practical policies to help students. 24/7 365 housing, right? Why, when we close campuses down for the summer, when we close campuses down for breaks, and close housing at those times, we put students out of housing. And kind of advocating for policies that keep our students housed, keep our students, make our campus their actual home are really vital. Another thing is food insecurity. Washington Post actually just had an article today, this morning, that was released, talking about how 36% of students have some sort of food insecurity. And so this is a big, again, we're attaching these problems that we're addressing in this webinar, but that are broader to the campus as a whole. And we need to, address these to help students be successful. We're not going to have students be successful if they can't eat. If they're not able to focus in class because they're worrying about their next meal, they're not going to be able to get their homework done. They're going to be going and searching for other jobs. They're going to be searching for other things that are outside of of the university. And they're going to pursue those things because it meets their basic needs. So meeting their basic needs is just a common sense policy that we can continue to advocate. So continue to advocate for those things. Finally, college success that we talked about. The Western Michigan talked about having 59% of the Michigan universities have dedicated advocates. Here at Portland State, we talk about campus champions and having advocates that students can go to. New Avenues for Youth has partnerships. These mentorships are hugely important to student success, and creating those opportunities for students to meet with other professionals that come from different lifestyles, that come from different majors, that have different academic backgrounds, will open up the ideas of what students can do, will provide avenues for students to see that there's other opportunities, that there might be different majors they can pursue if they're struggling with something that they started off with. These are value things that can help students navigate not just academics, but navigate financial stressors, navigate loans, what that means for higher ed, navigate financial aid. This leads right to social and financial skill building. There's some great research out there talking about how one of the greatest benefits of college beyond monetary is the social network that you gain, that you meet people from a variety of different backgrounds. You learn a lot about what you can do. So I give my own background. I thought that the only things you could do when I started college were be a teacher, go into the military, go into manufacturing, or go to jail. Those were the things I thought. I didn't know that there were things like being a researcher, economics, I didn't know any of that stuff existed until I started talking to people and started to understand and learn from other people that they had different interests, that they had different majors, that they did different things. And then it was learning from those people how to translate my skills into an actual major and an actual success. And so we need to continue to learn this. And the same thing with financial literacy and career literacy. Helping students understand how to be financially successful is really important. How to manage financial aid, how to manage student loans, how to manage debt once they're done with their education is really vital to their long-term success. And the same with helping them find the right career for them, the right career path. We see students jump around jobs quite often, and we want to see them start to find what the right position is for them. And that's my timer to be done. And so the final thing I'll say is professional skill building, that we want to help students understand how to interview for jobs, and that's something that mentorship can do once they're finished. It's great when they get their college degree, but then they need to be able to leverage that degree and those experiences that they have in the professional world after college, and helping students make that transition from the academic world to the professional world and be successful is going to be really a really important next step challenge. And so creating this full pipeline from kindergarten through high school, into college, and then through college and into the working world, and we can see the cycle start again, and they can give back even after that. And I think universities will be excited to have these stories where we can see students be successful throughout.
And let's just eradicate middle school. the next webinar. Thank you, Greg.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
So we do have time for some questions, and if anyone has questions they haven't yet submitted, please people who have come from foster care who have become parents and might be dealing with being parents and students. Any thoughts about that in your programs? Anybody want to kind of signal that you'd like to take that one?
Well, I know for Futures at Portland State University, we've just tried to be really good about maintaining the campus champions with the Department of Students with Children. They have a whole department resource for that where they provide counseling, they also provide daycare, they provide stipends, they also provide like connecting them to other resources such as job sourcing and those kinds of things as well. As far as, you know, our coaches and such, if our students have children, that's just something, it's case by case, and they support them in the same way we support all of the young people.
Great. We had a question about mental health, and if you have any data about students in the program, participants in the program dealing with mental health. I don't know that you'd have any specific data points on that.
Well, we don't have data, but actually one of our eligibility, and please, if other programs also have information, please feel free to share. For Futures, actually part of our eligibility is lived experience with foster care and mental health stressors. So all our cohorts thus far, each student has experience with a mental health stressor significant.
When we did our informal assessment of students who didn't make it at Western Michigan University within our program, we found that over 50% were due to mental health issues and resistance to mental health because of some of their engagement with resources previously that hadn't been very supportive or had been mandated. So obviously it's a huge component of their ability to be successful.
Thank you, everybody. We had also a question if we could go back to the data on percentage of youth entering school. Should I go back in slides to do that? Or maybe Jennifer and Shannon, you could kind of address that. Those basics.
Oh, how many?
Yeah, would you like me to go back?
No, so I have them right here.
We're talking about this.
Are we talking about, so?
They said percentages of youth entering school foster care versus general population.
Right, so we know, so 30 to 40% of young people in care go on to attend college. Only 6, and some numbers are as low. I actually estimated, I estimated high because the percentages are a little bit different across research, but the most repeated number I'm finding is 4% of young adults coming out of foster care go on to graduate from a 2 or 4 year college. And then when I mentioned compared to general population, that number is between 26 and 28%. So that gap is still, it's tremendous between young people with lived experience in foster care compared to the general population of students. And it also speaks, though, the 28%, if you want to go the next step, it speaks to what Greg was talking about in terms of, you know, the barriers for student success being a campus-wide issue across students.
To give some context even beyond foster care, only 11% of students from the lowest income group go on to graduate. And so, I mean, this is when I talk about the messaging being a lot of students from low income groups are struggling with this. This is a real issue with college campuses. Is students that come from disadvantaged backgrounds are not graduating college.
Do those statistics track graduation throughout their lifetime, or only like going right through and finishing? Or do they look at people who, after 30 or something, go back?
This is Jennifer. What I've seen is that it does tend to be the numbers through the 20s. And one thing we've observed with Project Futures is that our eligibility will reach out to students who have returned to school, so maybe in their mid to late 20s. And I don't know that the research is capturing all of those numbers, so it may just be that developmentally it's happening a little bit later, which is one of the things potentially that as they move through their 20s, they're able to build up some of that social capital and some of those social network supports, so that in providing programming when they do go directly or they do go right after high school, programs being able to provide this, the word network came up a lot, you know, in the different programs, talking a very low barrier, accessible network to a range of different supports, multidimensional supports that any young person would need to succeed in college.
I really liked the theme of success measurement throughout the presentation, and I think the influence of these programs will be seen over the long term, because even the general population doesn't all go right through college. Boom, so very interesting.
Well, going outside of colleges, we see it across the nation, trade schools shrinking, certificate programs shrinking, and that's, something maybe further out. It's definitely not my expertise, but that's another issue, because success should not just be defined on a college degree. There should be multiple options for people.
If I might throw in, most of the stats in higher ed are about 6-year graduation rates, the stats that are accessible to us. So sometimes it's difficult to benchmark because of the issues that have been brought up previously. So for example, we try to compare ourselves to first time in any college students, and we're still well short of that mark, the graduation rates. But there are some confounding variables with age and things like that, and students who stop out and may come back in.
And we're seeing some last mile, if you will, programs that you see where colleges are reaching out to students that are 30 credits short, that are 60 credits short, maybe a year short of graduating with a degree, and giving those students, trying to figure out ways to get them back in to education in some way.
We've had another question, wondering how you go about reaching out to and recruiting your campus champions.
Well, first of all, I need to give a shout out to Michigan, to Maddie Day and Yvonne Aru, because, when we first started developing futures and the components and concepts, they talked about campus champions, and we asked, can we use that term as well? And they're like, absolutely. I'm very grateful for that. It's a awesome concept, and, to tell you the truth, it's old school recruitment. So right now I have a student intern. Her name is Allie Pulley. She's actually raised 15 to 18 more campus champions this year, bringing us up to, I think we're around 54 now. And it is going across campus on foot, engaging them, talking to them, bringing our brochures, bringing a short little now background tool that gives them background on foster care and such, chatting with them, giving them the ideas of what we think a campus champion is, letting them know that, this isn't going to add to your workload. This is just a part of your work, and this is just you being aware that there may be some students that come to you that, have had the non-traditional experience of college, and so don't always know how to ask for help or how to build that social capital by just shaking your hand and asking you a few questions. So then it's about engagement, which is hard. I will say, because we're a small program, we could use a full-time campus champion engagement specialist. So future, wish list, because it's really important to engage them through not just like newsletters and emails, but Allie and I are getting together next week, and we're going to bake some goods, and we're going to walk across campus just thanking them for the year of service they've done. We would, as we go forward, we would love to have more money built in to where once a year we could have a campus champion and students like gala, where we're appreciating the students and the campus champions work together and such. Because just, that's the way, it's twofold. It's not just creating resources for students, it's spreading knowledge through the campus that this is an issue, and this is an issue that needs to be addressed.
This is Maddie. If I could just add and say that was an amazing description of how to go about finding campus champions.
Maddie.
That I just could capture that soundbite and share it with everybody. A couple things that just as a strategic way of going about it, I think, if it's your first time, or if you're somebody who doesn't necessarily feel super well versed in resources on your campus, that's where I would really encourage you to look at the 7 Life Domains framework. And that's a place that we start with our campus support programs, and also start identifying what we call designated campus champions. So we're really looking at who is somebody that provides resources or service in each of those domains on campus, and then doing exactly what Shannon talked about. And that the approach for us has always been reminding people that you don't need to be the expert. You just need to be somebody who will say, let's figure this out together. And as Shannon also said, often they're already doing this work, but they're not necessarily doing it in concert with others. So when you find those champions, it feels like a relief many times for them to go, oh my gosh, there's other people who are doing this. There's other people who are seeing this student, and putting them in touch with those other people. All of a sudden, it's the shared responsibility of supporting this student rather than just on one's shoulders. A couple other things that I would just say, ideas to bring those folks together. We're really big on sharing successes. And so Fostering Success Michigan does a lot of the work of identifying community champions now as well. So we like to highlight success. And so we share some of those big and small successes from our student community with those folks as a motivator of like, this is what you're contributing to. And then many of our campus support programs actually recruit mentors for their students from those campus champions. And so it becomes a really great sort of symbiotic relationship. And it also provides some diversity for students to see more roles in the professional arena for them, right? So what does financial aid really look like, and how do you get there? So just some ideas, but great overview, Shannon.
Thank you, and great additions, all those pieces. Thanks, Maddie. And I just wanted to pause with questions. We do have two experts in the room, our young people, and you've listened to all of these webinars patiently and gracefully. And we're wondering, and please, again, if you want to pass, there's no judgment. That's okay. But, do you have any additional feedback or things, have you heard things in the room that you don't agree with or you think we could improve upon? Us moving forward, what would your advice be to us?
I think so far everything we've heard was pretty great. It's good to know that all these people are advocating for us and our futures. And so we're just honored to be here and listening to the game plan.
Nice. Thank you.
I was going to make a comment earlier just about how students, I think it was regarding like the percentages of students that like drop out when they're so close to finishing their degree, and some of it being life stressors. And I think you mentioned this earlier, Greg, about like looking for jobs and stuff. In the first cohort that I was in, I kind of saw that same thing happen where a lot of students that was in my cohort end up leaving because of life stressors. And a lot of it did have to do with like wanting to find jobs and just wanting to work. And so I think keeping the programs going kind of the way that they are for now, of course, we can always improve, but I think the way that things are going now is really good. And I'm really thankful to have a person, again, like a coach that can help me with finances, because I'm pretty sure finances would keep me from achieving my goal.
Excellent. Thank you so much for those comments and everyone who participated today, and it's been great. We appreciate it. We're going to have to end now. I think we did get through all the questions. Wanted to point out one tip sheet from Pathways if you're interested in this resource. And again, all of this will be posted online today. This webinar was made possible through our funders. So thank you everyone for being here.
Bye everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay warm. Like snowing again in the East Coast. Okay.